my name is Henry Padilla, and for my informative speech, I will explain how did the World War II start. In this speech, I will explain using different research sources how the World War II started, the reasons behind this war, and how the World War II is just a continuation of the World War I. To talk about this topic, I have done a lot of research. I have read several books, and also I have heard some podcasts and audiobooks. The book I actually read for this speech is named The Third Reich, and also I have done a lot of research on internet when I choose this topic. So for us to understand how did the World War II start, I divided this speech in 4 different main points. The first one being Benito Mussolini and the fascism, the second one Adolf Hitler, the third one the Nazism, and the fourth one how the World War II officially started. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, Benito was the Italian Prime Minister from 1922 to 1943. He was the first fascist dictator. In his initial into politics, he spent time organizing with trade unions and writing for socialist publications in Switzerland and Italy. Mussolini's politics started to merge through the World War I. These politics included the ideas of racial superiority, xenophobia, and imperialism. All these ideas define his action as a dictator. So the word fascism comes from the far-right movement he led in Italy. It was made up of paramilitary groups which were largely under his control, following the ideas I already mentioned. After knowing who was Mussolini, now we can move to explain who was Adolf Hitler and his life. So Adolf Hitler, doing my research and watching over 5 different documentaries, one of them from the History Channel about the World War II and Hitler's life, I found some interesting information about him and his family. Hitler was born on April 1889 in a small Austrian town. In 1913, he moved to Munich, Germany, right before the World War I started, and he volunteered in a reserve infantry regiment. Deployed in October 1914 to Belgium, he won 2 decorations for bravery, including the Red Iron First Class. Hitler was wounded twice during this conflict, one time in the leg in 1916 and temporarily blinded in 1918. His rise to power traces to 1919 when he joined the German Workers' Party that became the Nazi Party then. So with his speech skills, he soon became their leader, especially during the Great Depression. In 1932, he placed second in the presidential race, then he was named Chancellor. In 1934, the Chancellorship and the presidency were merged, and Hitler secured his position as the leader. Right here we can see a picture of him going from being a Chancellor to actually taking the president's spot into Germany. So now that we know the 2 main characters, I can do a quick explanation of the Nazism and then explain how these beliefs started the World War II. The Nazis are called by that term since they followed the beliefs and politics of the Nazism. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the Nazism is the body of political and economic beliefs put into effect by the Nazis in Germany from 1933 to 1945. Especially Germanic groups assumed to be racially superior. In this intense nationalist mass appeal, Nazis share many elements with Italian fascism. According to the BBC website, there are 6 main points in the Nazism and the fascism ideology. So I will explain these politics and beliefs. There are 6 of them. The first one will be the idea that there should be a single leader with complete power rather than democracy. The second one, the idea that Germany should be economically self-sufficient. The third one, the Treaty of Versailles should be abolished and all German-speaking people united in just one country. The fourth one, Germany was in danger from communists and Jews, who had to be destroyed. The fourth one, the need for limited space for German nations to expand, and the sixth one, the idea of Aryan race was superior than Jews, that they were subhuman. Now that I have explained the beliefs and the main characters, we will see facts. We will see the facts that officially started the World War II. So, according to the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, the World War II, which began in 1939 and ended in 1945, was the deadliest and most destructive war in history. In March 1936, against the advice of his generals, Hitler ordered troops to reoccupy the left bank of the Rhine. We can see right here, this was Germany, and he moved everybody to reoccupy right here, just to cover that side of the country. So once he confirmed the alliance with Italy in May 1939, Hitler signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. Right here we can see Hitler with Benito Mussolini, which was the Italian dictator I told to you before at the beginning of this speech. On September 1st, 1939, Nazi troops invaded Poland, finally prompting Britain and France to declare the war on Germany. So right here in this map, we can see how Germany and Italy, they were the axis, and they start expanding through the whole Europe. Right here we can see all the orange parts where they expanded, and the green ones are the allies, the ones that were fighting against them. So the concentration camps were one of the saddest consequences of the World War II. According to the History Channel website, those camps began to appear in 1933, even before the World War II started, with a notorious camp at Munich, Germany, to hold Jews and other targets of the Nazi regime. After the World War II broke out, the Nazis shifted from expelling Jews from Germany-controlled territories to actually exterminating them, like killing them. In addition to forced labor and mass execution, certain Jews were targeted as the subjects of horrific medical experiments. Those experiments were focused on twins, especially kids, and exposed 3,000 children to disease and torture under the excuse of medical research. They mainly were trying to see how the twins were created, what was the reason twins were born. So the World War II was one of the most darkest and bloodiest chapters of the human history. About 60 million people died in just 6 years, and we can see that it only takes one man to make a difference in the world. Only by knowing how to choose and say the right words to motivate people to follow his orders. We can evidence also how this is just a chain reaction. First, we started with the fascism, then we saw how the Nazism took some of fascism ideas for their own doctrine, and these beliefs and ideas and politics developed a world war. As I said before, about 60 million people died because of this war, only within 6 years. The population was reduced by 2%. And to finish with this presentation, I really truly believe that it's really important to know the reasons of this war, just to try and don't make the same mistakes. Because a lot of the reason Hitler used to persuade people to follow him was to say that they deserve to war the World War I, and they deserve more than they already have. That's the reason of his expansion. Plus get everything they lost back in the World War I. Thank you so much for your time.